Atheist Nomads, episode 341. Opiates, Vouchers, and Stampedes.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin, and joining me is Lauren.
Hello!
I am working on scheduling more people.
I know you guys are getting so bored of listening to me talk about myself. Oh, wait, no, that's Dustin.
It's a lot more fun when we have more than just the two of us, since we see each other every day.
Yeah.
All day. Well, not all day, but when I'm not at work. And as much as, and it's always nice getting somebody else here. So we are working on that. I have been distracted with schisms and your surgery and having a 2-year-old and.
Because that's insanity personified.
Right. Yeah. But you're doing good, right?
Yeah. You may hear me sniffling because my nose is still very raw. So, that was not fun this afternoon when I went out for a walk and it was like freaking 15 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. And here I am trying to train myself to breathe through my nose. Oh, that hurt so bad.
Yeah, that's because, Lauren asked me a couple days ago how you get used to breathing cold, dry air through your nose. I didn't have a good answer because I figured that out. It would have been winter 1984-85.
Yeah, when you were 6 months old.
Yeah, because I have a anatomically normal nose, and you did not.
Yes. That's been fun. Not to mention that one side is almost completely healed, and the other side is not. So that sucks. But yay for getting through that deductible. And
almost through the out-of-pocket maximum.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Well, about halfway through that. Yeah.
Do all sorts of stuff to myself this year. We've already paid for it.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't involve freaking copays or prescriptions, because dang it, they still get you on those.
Except everything has a copay.
Yeah, so...
Even surgery has a copay.
I know.
How does surgery have a copay, a deductible, and coinsurance? Ugh!
Yeah.
The American healthcare system is a joke.
Yeah, it is. They're laughing at us.
Oh, man. But I was a guest on the Phil Ferguson show. It is out now, and I've actually already gotten an email from somebody who listened to it. So. Oh, yeah? Yeah.
It was interesting listening to this side of the conversation without hearing his side at all. A lot of reminiscing about sandboxes. Oh no, that was the other show. Sorry.
I was a guest on another show that won't be out for a while still.
That right. Phil Ferguson was... That
was last week.
And I was not...
You were high.
Yeah, I was... Woo, that Vicodin is...
Yep.
Gets me sleepy.
So check it out. Phil Ferguson does a show where he talks about financial planning and
Yes.
atheism. So if you want to learn how to manage your money better, he'll give you all the secrets. And
once you've already made your first million, because...
No, then he can help you with it. Otherwise, he'll just tell you how to do it yourself.
Oh, okay.
Which is, that sounds cool.
So you gleaned some wisdom. Are we going to be millionaires in a year?
You have to have money to get money, and we don't have the money to start trying to get money.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Is it doesn't do you any good until you already have $1 million.
Oh, no. His advice can help if you have thousands to play with.
Oh.
We don't.
I have a piggy bank with some change in it.
Yeah.
Actually, Kylie has more cash on her, cash than any of us. Go savings accounts. Woo.
There is a EMR. And because we are going to be talking about an electronic medical record system that I have interfaced with professionally, I do need to state that the views expressed in this podcast do not necessarily represent the views of my employer, which I do not name on this podcast, but I have interfaced with Practice Fusion professionally.
It makes it sound like you're a cyborg and you plug yourself into the interface. You're like,
yeah. They never really caught on too much because their product apparently wasn't that great.
Well, EMRs are like point of sales systems. Everybody
garbage.
has their own and they're all terrible.
But it did gain some traction even here locally because it's free. Was free. Started out being free. Funded by venture capital. And they pushed pretty hard to try and get more and more people to sign up on their free platform, because with anything venture capital like that, you've got venture capital money funding your free platform that you can then sell to somebody who's going to figure out how to
actually profit off of it.
Which happened when they sold it to Allscripts. What's relevant here is they got a massive, massive kickback from several drug companies to put in a pop-up into the program that would ask a provider to ask questions about a patient's pain and then suggest opiates.
Yeah. That is as dirty as it sounds, people.
It was also in part funded by the screensaver that it would display, which was pharmaceutical ads.
Well, yeah.
That part's not illegal.
That I would expect for a free program. You're going to get ads of some sort.
But not kickbacks.
Nope.
To help inform, and because where that gets really touchy is the screensaver advertisements are meant to passively influence decisions.
Right.
Whereas paying money to somebody to actively try to influence medical care decisions is very illegal. They have admitted to it, and in their settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice, they'll be paying the government $145 million, $113 million of which will go directly to the federal government, and more than $5 million will go to the states.
So if you've been prescribed opiates in the past, 3-4 years? How long has this been around? 10 years? I would be talking to your doctor about suing and seeing how much money you can get out of this, because it is part of the reason why we have an epidemic.
Okay, they were specifically between 2014 and 2019.
There you go.
Doing this.
There's a date. Ask your doctor, hey, did you use this program? And if he says yes, you're like, okay, here's my lawyer's number.
Between 2016 and 2019, there was a total of 230 million clinical decision support alerts. And it was those clinical decision support alerts that suggested prescribe Vicodin or one of the other various opiate products.
Yeah. And then, of course, when you do get it, they give you tons and you have it just sitting in your cabinet and thinking, how much can I make off this?
Yeah.
Terrible. But, yeah.
So, yeah. Not directly atheism related, but goddamn.
Sue. It's related to me because I've been high on Vicodin for like the past week.
And there definitely is a major humanist element with healthcare, the healthcare bullshit. And this is just an example of some of the healthcare bullshit.
Yeah. It's something that pops up on this podcast a lot. So,
yeah.
As a side note, we have Kylie back in the bedroom watching her favorite show. And she's just reached that age where she's starting to interact with the shows now. So when her favorite character shows up, she yells her name. Or if there's a joke or something funny, she starts laughing hysterically at it. And I've been listening to her for the past 5 minutes, and it's just freaking hilarious. Oh, my gosh. Oh, shut up, Kylie. Too cute.
All right, so a year ago, Instagram promised that they would try to reduce the spread of vaccine-related misinformation. And we talked about that on the podcast. Well, HuffPost has tested out how well are they doing.
All you have to do is do a couple search terms.
They created a new term, or a new account, and they searched for vaccine.
Yeah. You can imagine what the results are like.
Nearly all of the top results were anti-vax pages.
Yeah. And they're not, it's not benign. This is my opinion. Here's the evidence that supports you not getting vaccines, and that evidence has been debunked. So it is the spreading of misinformation.
The top result they got was a profile with more than 74,000 followers that push known, very clear falsehoods about vaccines and the Wuhan coronavirus.
Which is a serious problem right now. I've seen that on the news a couple times now, is how to spot fake news regarding the coronavirus on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And one is not caused by beer. That was a joke someone made that apparently some people took seriously because there was a boycott Corona thing for a while.
Oh, man.
Idiots. Oh, my gosh. But...
And coronavirus, in case you missed this detail, is because under a microscope, it has a halo around it, kind of like the corona of the sun.
Yeah.
No connection whatsoever with the beer Corona.
Yeah. And then somebody posted a picture of a Corona bottle with a lime in it. Said, I have Lyme disease too. It was funny. Anyway, yeah. Oh, on a related note, Goop has come out and said that the reason why they are being censored is because of the patriarchy.
Oh, yeah.
Not the fact that it's bullshit, but...
Yep.
Oh, God. Roll my eyes. It's like, no, it's not the patriarchy.
Yeah. And HuffPost, not Huffington Post anymore, it's just HuffPost. When they followed that one account, Instagram recommended dozens more like it, also promoting dangerous medical misinformation. Yeah.
It sucks.
We talked not too long ago about, not on the podcast, this was just us talking. It was after I read an article about Joe Biden saying that he wants to hold social media companies accountable for the stuff that is said on them.
Yeah.
Which would undo safe haven rules. And we had an interesting conversation about it because I have complicated views about it, considering that podcasts exist largely in part, or largely because of those safe haven rules.
Right.
But then when I asked, said something like that would kill social media, you had a pretty good response.
So?
Yeah.
What is our life like without social media? Better.
You talk to people to make
in
plans
almost
to
every
talk to people.
way I could think of. Social media is a detriment to society. Not only that, but if a company comes out and says, we are going to do this thing, such as stop misinformation, fact check political ads, they better as hell do it. Otherwise, yes, you can be held responsible. You should be. And, if you come out and say, we are not going to be touching anything that is said on our platform, don't sue us, I have more respect for that. Because that's equal, not going to touch it. Not going near that dumpster fire. But people who claim to actually be trying to help and trying to make society a better place and show some kind of regard for human decency and then just fail to do it.
It's a dumpster fire, really, because if you don't censor it at all...
Well, it's a PR move is what it is.
People take advantage of the anonymity of the internet, and now people have just been desensitized to needing to have human decency thanks to the internet, and it will become a horrible, 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 ugly dumpster fire. So some moderation is necessary to keep it from being used to recruit terrorists and convince people the world is flat.
Yeah.
And so you start moderating, and then when you start moderating, you're exercising editorial review, and there is a certain point where you cross the line from having safe haven protections to actually being responsible for what's said.
Yeah. So Instagram should absolutely be held responsible for any misinformation that somebody gets off of Instagram, because they said that they were going to take that down.
And one of the big reasons why social media is having to actually try to clean things up is they are already manipulating everything and exercising editorial control with the algorithms.
Yeah.
The fact that Instagram has anti-vax information is not necessarily the issue. The issue is that
it's all you see when
it's
you
the top
type it in.
Search results, which Instagram is choosing what to show you, and you follow one and it shows you more. That is...
I mean, they all do it. Google does it. I mean, your search results are tailored, very much so, and some people are not very happy with that. some people don't mind the convenience of it, but when that results in you being fed falsities under the guise of truth, and make it difficult for you to verify it, because they don't give you any, like, see more like this that are actually relevant.
Yeah. All right. Well, in Tanzania, in the town of Moshi near Mount Kilimanjaro, a pastor holding a large revival, perhaps, in a sports stadium, having this large Saturday night service. And he called the people to rush to the stage to be anointed with the blessed oil.
Yeah, that's apparently super popular right now in Africa. Is prosperity gospel guys going around with oil, and you have to, I think they put it on the stage or something, you have to walk over it or something. So they're getting everybody they can, because you don't go there if you're doing well.
Right.
You go there if you're desperate and saying that they are going to cure you of disease, you're going to get wealth, we're going to do all these things for you, but you have to come up here and walk across the stage. And when you have a stadium full of people and they are all there to be cured.
10,000 people.
Yeah.
All rushing to the stage. 20 people died and 16 were severely injured in the stampede that ensued.
Yeah.
And the pastor fled.
And that's the...
But the police caught up with him in Dar es Salaam.
Yeah. They're going to hold him responsible, saying that what the hell were you thinking? What's really sad is that a couple kids died.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the whole idea of prosperity gospel hurting people. A lot of, oh, well, it doesn't hurt anybody. I'm like, no, this is an example of how it hurts people. You can't, yeah.
And prosperity gospel is one that I think we definitely should do a lot more in depth on, because it is fascinating, kind of the origin of it, because its roots are actually in socialist liberation theology, and it's been corrupted into this promising earthly riches in what's pretty clearly a con.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a con, but everybody thinks that they're going to be the next winner. Mm-hmm. So buy into it. And yeah, I do think that would be a very good dusting off the degree.
Yeah. A federal judge in Cincinnati got to sentencing on two men, Ryan King and Randy Goodman, and decided to let them off with time served and 3 years probation for a doomsday plot with pipe bombs and massive firearm stockpiling as part of a Christian prepper militia.
What? Why? Well, okay. So, I understand. If the end of the world is coming, why do you need pipe bombs? Why are you killing other people?
To fight off the government.
Right. Because the government's going to come and...
Because the government is going to be taken over by Satan and be used to persecute God's people.
Right.
Adventists go with the approach of run for the woods, head up into the mountains, survive in the wilderness, which was defeated around the 1990s with really good multispectral imaging. And now even Civil Air Patrol could find you if you're trying to hide from the government.
Yeah.
You don't even need the military or law enforcement. Civil Air Patrol can do it.
Yeah.
But they are of the... Like it's they're not. I don't think they're Mormon, but it is the same. It is similar to what you'll see with Mormons, with the mindset of when the government comes, you have to fight them off.
Okay, that makes sense then. I was just because when I first read through this, I was just like, I don't understand why you're killing other people when you're all suffering through the end of the world.
And they hadn't attacked anyone.
No, and to hurt people, you don't necessarily have to actually attack them. It's usually an accident. But
building pipe bombs is illegal.
Yeah.
And they were building pipe bombs. And the fact that that is still illegal despite the Second Amendment helps demonstrate that the Second Amendment is not a blanket right to be able to have weapons. There are restrictions on it.
Yep. And I can't believe the judge just let them off.
No, she said, quote, "This is one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made." And then she announced her decision. Quote, "I think you got carried away with your thoughts about Armageddon. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt."
And maybe that's the right approach. Maybe this has been a reality check to these people. But I would verify that before I let them go. This is like serious, like, okay, you need to not associate with this apparent terrorist group that you call church.
United Sheepdogs of Ohio.
What?
United Sheepdogs of Ohio is the name of their militia group. Yeah.
What?
United.
Wow, you have to really vet things before you.
Ohio.
Jesus.
It's a militia group with about a dozen members. So, in other words, a crazy survivalist doomsday gun club.
Under the guise of a dog fanciers group? Or sheepdog like code?
I'm assuming sheepdogs is symbolic, not literal. Oh, yeah, and they were also...
And also a Canadian band.
No. They were also, did actually use some of these explosives on one of the men's mother's farm. These pipe bombs are described as crater makers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you would have guessed how much the government was asking for a sentence? 2 years. Just 2 years.
It all goes back to one particular person. His name is Jesse Romero, and he says that there are 3 types of church men. There's the wolves, the sheep, and the sheepdogs.
Oh.
The good, the bad, and the indifferent. So there's stuff online, lots of his talks, everywhere from 2009 up to 2016, even more recent, where these, basically, are you a sheep, a wolf, or a sheepdog? Yeah, that's messed up.
And they don't think that their shepherd, Jesus, will take care of them.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That is...
This goes deep. I mean, let's say you're turning our sheepdogs into poodles in Australia. There's an article in 2018 about how men are being, emasculated. This is messed up.
Wow.
Jesse Romero. That's nasty.
Yeah.
And it's all anti-Islamic.
Of course it is.
It's that they're building up their forces, so we have to build up ours.
On Cardinal Timothy Dolan's Sirius XM radio show, Conversations with Cardinal Dolan, U.S. Attorney General Bob Barr was a guest, where he claimed that there was a, quote, militant secular effort, end quote.
Sign me up.
Trying to suppress religion.
Yep. They found us out. Because we're the ones that are making pipe bombs.
We're back to militant atheist? God,
really? Jeez, Barr, get with the times. That was so last decade.
That was like a whole 3 years ago. I thought we put this one to bed, but nope. The militant secular effort with lawsuits and sternly worded letters.
Yes, our sternly worded letters. and coffee house discussions.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
maybe
hilarious.
even marching in parades.
The audacity.
What the hell is militant about any of that? No. I know the pen is mightier than the sword, but until you actually consider that you're not going to kill somebody with a pen.
Not easily, anyway. Sorry. That was in poor taste.
If you are trained with a particular set of skills,
pump them full of lead,
then you that was a taken reference.
Yes, I know. Yeah. I was continuing my joke about pencils.
Yeah. So he said, quote, "We believe in the separation of church and state, but what permits a limited government and minimal command and control of the population and allows people to have freedom of choice in their lives and trust in the people is the fact that there are a people that are capable of disciplining themselves according to moral values." End quote.
If that were true, then it would be church tribal tribunals that would be taking care of everything. And we've seen how well the Catholics do that.
Well, when you look at what he said, well,
he's the Attorney General.
It doesn't make any sense.
Jeez.
He wants, he's trying to force religion on people to get people to have the fear of hellfire control their behavior, as opposed to actually having to use the legal system and courts to try to encourage good behavior.
Yeah.
Or setting up good social, a good social safety net to make it less likely for people.
Which is fine if you're a pastor, but not when you're the attorney flippin' general.
Yeah.
Guys, well, as long as they have pastors that repeat this crap, they're going to repeat it in their policy. And this is just another example of we need more secular politicians.
One of the things he said was, quote, "It's that militant secularists are trying to impose their values on religious people, and they're not accommodating the freedom of religion of people of faith."
And that is that code term, freedom of religion, is their way of, you're not allowing me to discriminate against others based on my personally held beliefs, so you're persecuting me. That's because we live in a free country. You're not allowed to do that.
We live in a country that figured out quite a while ago that if you leave people you can't have absolute freedom. That when it's a complete free-for-all, people with power will use their freedom to restrict the freedom of those without power.
Modern capitalism.
Except worse than that. Okay. Segregation. The Jim Crow era. White people with power used that power to keep the black man down. And we're not even going to talk about black women because they had it even worse.
Yeah.
That is why we have rules in place that restrict the ability for people who have a position of power or are engaged in a business that is serving the public. Because as soon as people are free to discriminate, then some people in the public are no longer full members of the public.
Right. There's the whole second-class citizen thing.
Yeah. And depending on where you live, that could be you just have to move.
Yeah, this goes so much further than freaking wedding cakes. That's almost more of just a visual example to show how deep this runs. It's an easy lawsuit, but the reality is people still will say you walk into a store and the person there is racist, they're not going to overtly say, hey, this is whites only, but they will make sure that they'll make you as uncomfortable as possible so you leave. And that should not be tolerated. This is true with poor people. This is any minority, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's like you go to a small town and you will see on the fronts of most businesses the sign that says we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. That is code for we are racist assholes here.
Yeah.
And you look at small towns and, oh yeah, there's a reason they're all white. At least out in the West.
Yeah.
Small towns are all white.
Yeah.
If we allow the freedom of religion argument for denying services to gay and trans people, the next group will be probably people denying services to atheists more often.
Jewish people.
And then it's going to move to Jews. And it's going to be Muslims. And then it's going to be black people and Mexicans.
Yeah.
And other Latinos.
Yeah. Of course, isn't that a slippery slope fallacy? Except for we've seen it throughout history over and over and over again.
Logical argumentation and legal precedent are very different things.
This is true.
When you look at the law, the slippery slope is called precedent.
Yeah, I really wish that they would just get around to disbarring him.
Yeah. He very well may be, but it would be very...
It wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
He could still be Attorney General.
Right.
It's just disbarring somebody named Barr. It's just hilarious.
Pastor Rick Wiles of the Christian website True News, spelled TRU.
Oh, God, that is still around?
Oh, yeah. They've had videos removed from YouTube, but nope, he's still around. He was credentialed to cover Trump's trip to the World Economic Forum at Davos, Switzerland.
Really?
True News got press credentials for that. Yeah. And
not a big deal until you saw who they didn't let in.
But he used his January 27 edition of True News to suggest that the coronavirus is a plague from God to, quote, purge a lot of sin off this planet.
So he's just going for generic sin.
Oh, he goes further. He said, pointing out that with China being the epicenter of it,
must be communism.
It's one of the last steps of judgment because of its, quote, godless communist government.
Yeah. You know it's getting around to there. You're just waiting for the words. He can't just say, Asian or Chinese, but probably pretty racist too. But definitely the secular those godless heathens.
Uh-huh. So then he got to the U.S. and said that things aren't much better here, with all those, quote, vile and, quote, disgusting gay people.
Yes, because they are only here in the U.S.
Oh, actually, the quote, just vile, disgusting people in this country now, transgendering little children, perverting them. Look at the rapes and the sexual immorality and the filth in our TVs and movies. Folks, the death angel may be moving right now across this planet.
Whatever.
For one, transgendering is not...
It's not a verb.
No, it's not. Grammatically, it is very wrong. But just like I've kind of started picking up on repeated grammatically incorrect ways of talking about Jewish people.
Yeah.
Always seems to be intentional.
It's codified language.
It's making sure that you're talking about it in as horrible a way as possible.
Right, because like transgendering children, that means that is against the children's will that you are doing this to them. And, you point out, say, you're transgendered as a child. What are the chances that you're going to make it to adulthood? Very little. Suicide rates among transgendered is astronomical compared to the average population. There are some people out there who will hear you say that and say, well, maybe they should kill themselves because they don't deserve to live because they feel that way anyway. And then you just realize it's just a brick wall and you can't convince these people of human decency.
Right. Yeah.
Facebook comments, I'm looking at you.
And Rick Wiles is a, horrible, horrible person. And I look forward to the day when we have a president who does not
pander.
Give him a press pass.
He's probably on speed dial.
And then Trump's official evangelical advisor,
who is on speed dial.
Yeah. Paula White gave a sermon about satanic pregnancies.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. During her prayer, she included the line, "We command all satanic pregnancies to miscarry right now."
As somebody who knows people who have had miscarriages, I don't believe in evil, but this is evil.
Uh-huh.
To say such a thing. That is terrible. That's a terrible thing to say. But satanic pregnancy, these people live in a fantasy world.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is it's a fantasy world of their own making, and it is terrible.
Yeah.
Dude, can't you think of something happy like freaking unicorns or something? You need some serious therapy. Color therapy.
Yeah, it is. Man. All right, now we're going to move on to some state stuff.
Cool. Our state?
We will get to our state, but this is state legislative season in most states, which is when generally when all of the worst stuff happens.
This is when all the bad bills show up.
Yeah. And the states are the test bed of democracy, so we want bad ideas to die in them first.
Yes, this is true.
Except the bad ideas seem to be spreading like a virus.
I would say that, except this has always been the case. I do not remember in a legislative season in my adult life where these terrible ideas haven't surfaced.
They usually die in committee.
They usually die in committee. Oftentimes they'll actually get to a vote.
Uh-huh. It's not uncommon for them to pass in the state houses, but then they usually die in the state senates. And and rarely
this is just
make
a
it
new
to the
example.
governors. And so with this first one, Tennessee successfully passed and signed into law a new bill guaranteeing that faith-based foster care and adoption agencies are free to set criteria for placing children based on their religious beliefs.
Okay.
Without interfering with getting tax funding.
That's bullshit.
Yep.
Right? Everything's fine until you mention the tax thing. So, because at that point, you can boycott. You can choose not to use those services. You can go elsewhere. Oftentimes people have to adopt across state lines anyway, or even country lines. But the fact that they're being paid by the state to provide adoption services, and then they turn around and say, we don't like you, you, and you. That's the government saying that they're okay with those groups of people being discriminated against. In Tennessee, I'm not really surprised. I'm sure the government feels more than happy to discriminate against it. That's why the federal government has to step in and say, wait, you can't do that. They're all citizens. It really irritates me at the thought that, using us, for example, we've been paying taxes into a government that could then turn around and deny us services.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
No, and
adoption of all things, where these kids are in foster care, they're in really bad situations, and they just need a freaking home, and you have people who are willing to give them a safe place to live and grow, and they say, no, because of this one aspect of your life we don't approve of.
Yep.
Way to punish the children.
This bill passed in the name of defending religious liberty.
Right, because that's their right as a religious organization to deny.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't change the fact that they still get some monetary support from the state.
Yeah, and the fact that they are funded by the government means they should have to follow all government non-discrimination rules.
They'll get sued. This will get sued out before it goes into effect, I bet. It may not be successful, but I'm sure lawsuits are pending.
A quarter of all federal judges have been appointed by Trump.
Yikes. I don't care.
Obama didn't get to appoint very many.
No, right.
Mitch McConnell held as many open as he could.
Yep.
So, yeah. So it is another day, and that's one of those things that happens with
you don't actually have to say that. Nobody's gonna know.
No, they aren't. But whatever.
Okay.
If things sound different,
they'll never know. Ha ha ha.
If things sound different, that's why.
We sound more emotionally drained, or
yeah.
It's been a rough day.
And we're going to start off with
rougher news.
Well, we're on state news, so yeah.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so
it can't be as bad as national.
We'll get back to that. Representative Heather Scott.
Oh, is she in the news again?
Yeah.
Oh, good old Heather.
Republican from Blanchard, Idaho. Member of the Idaho State Legislature, has introduced House Bill number 361, also known as the Idaho Abortion Human Rights Act.
Okay, another abortion bill.
So there is a strategy that has been in the works for quite a while of conservatives trying to keep Democrats from appointing judges, making that as difficult as possible, and then filling it with young ideologues who want to
change the world,
ban abortion.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's working.
Well, ban abortion and dismantle the administrative state and do a bunch of other things. And so in some of these most recent cases that have been heard, there was some language that got put into the majority opinions, basically saying, "Yeah, that was stupid. Send us something better."
Nice.
So, opening arguments, I know, talked about this. I think I heard about it somewhere else as well, but it definitely looks like, and there definitely seems to be a strategy of pass a wide variety of abortion bills ranging from effective bans and actual bans to severe restrictions that don't ban it but make it virtually impossible.
Yeah.
In hopes that the courts can say, oh no, those complete bans, like Idaho, those don't cut it. Those are clearly unconstitutional. But just severe restrictions. Oh, those are fine.
Yeah. So what if you have to go to the next state?
Idaho apparently wants to be the state that would, if Scott's bill goes anywhere, it includes in it a clause that would direct the Attorney General to enforce state law regardless of any contrary court opinions.
Them activist judges.
In other words, that is clearly unconstitutional.
Yep.
You cannot put in a bill, this cannot be, judges have no say. That is, no, oh, hell no.
Which means that this bill right there will go nowhere.
Yeah.
But
they are intentionally making it as crazy as possible.
Yeah.
This is meant to be the crazy bill. It would also repeal the Idaho code that prohibits the prosecution of abortion as murder with no exceptions.
Okay.
And
yet we are a stand your ground state. just saying. Murder's legal.
Yeah. And then it would also, and the bill claims that abortion's against the Idaho Constitution and that the current law, quote, unequivocally applies those homicide statutes by permitting, or unequally applies those homicide statutes by permitting abortions. So, yeah, the bill,
But not faith healing.
Correct. Yep.
Again, nitpick.
Well, to be fair...
If it was consistent, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. Actually, yes, I would.
And I hate to play devil's advocate on that one.
Yeah.
Banning an active act versus requiring an active act is different. The faith healing rules require that parents, the standard rules require that parents actively provide life-saving health care to their children. The faith healing protections mean you can't get charged with manslaughter if it's because of religion, if you don't do that. Whereas the abortion rules, if this passes, then it would prohibit the active act of performing an abortion.
But the crazy bills are the ones that are saying even miscarriages is murder. I know that's not the case in this one, but that's the next step, and it just never seems to end.
Oh, yeah.
And what I feel bad for are the people who actually, your neighbors and your coworkers who are anti-abortion, but not like this. And they keep seeing this stuff go through the house, and they're just like, what are you guys doing? I get it. You to negotiate what you want, sometimes you have to go to the extremes in order to get something in the middle, but this really is just a waste of taxpayer time, money, and it is so divisive.
It is a bill designed to get challenged in court.
And so Heather Scott should not be reelected just because of that.
So the last person to put in a bill like this was former Representative John Green, who was expelled from the Idaho State Legislature after being convicted of fraud.
Yeah. I'm surprised he was expelled these days. Fraud, that's the least offensive thing you can get away with now.
It was amazing that they managed to expel him from this Idaho legislature without even naming him.
That's classy right there.
They just
kudos to them for that.
Yeah.
But
the speaker just made a motion to declare his seat vacant without naming John Green by name, and it passed unanimously. But Heather Scott is not in that position and likely has not committed pretty grotesque tax fraud.
Probably has some abortions under her belt, but not tax fraud.
So there are more than a dozen bills currently in the works in a variety of states, all targeting trans minors. These have all been introduced by Republicans, and they are all getting pushed by very conservative advocacy groups who want, theocracy.
Yeah.
Without exception. The ACLU is, of course, opposing all of these, as are, most reasonable organizations.
Yeah.
The Alliance Defending Freedom is one of the groups pushing for them. So there are medical bans that have been proposed. These are pending in Colorado, Florida, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and South Dakota. We'll probably see more.
Yeah. They're testing the waters right now.
Yeah. These bills would prohibit... Oh, and Utah's working on it. Utah's working on getting one in. That would prohibit any transition-related medical care.
Right. No hormones, no operations.
No puberty blockers, nothing.
Nothing. You are the sex that you were born with until you're 18.
Yep. Until you're done with puberty. Yeah, that's fucked up.
At least it's not. I don't think that's the most unreasonable one. No, actually, targeting minors, that is about as extreme as you can go.
Oh yeah.
The general population, no, that's not the most restrictive thing in the world. But when we are starting to recognize that trans kids oftentimes feel that way at a very young age, way before puberty, and have chosen, not even chosen, but they feel like a different gender by the time they're even just in elementary school. And then having all these weird bans on bathrooms and how these kids are allowed to present themselves. It's no wonder suicide rates are so high.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's terrible.
Right. And what these are specifically targeting is by prohibiting the treatment that trans minors can get, that's making it so that they have to go through puberty as the gender assigned at birth.
Yeah. Because some people seem to think this is a phase. Which
means developing the secondary sex characteristics of the gender that they don't identify with.
Yeah.
As opposed to...
It's hard to be a high school girl with a 5 o'clock shadow.
Yep. And this article on NBC News, they talked to a Utah family with a 15-year-old trans boy who came out to his parents at 12. They started him on puberty blockers, and then a couple years later, all talking it out as a family and talking to the doctor, then got him started on testosterone, and now he's a happy, healthy 15-year-old boy, developing as male. If that hadn't, and prior to coming out and starting that process, what they had on their hands was a suicidal 12-year-old.
Yep. Suicidal 12-year-old. Now, I know 12-year-olds can be difficult, but you shouldn't have to deal with a suicidal adolescent. I've been there. It's not good for anybody. And if there's something you can do for your kid to make them survive to at least to 18, you're going to try and do it. But they're making it so hard. Yeah. Even if you can't get you can't get the medical stuff, will you at least allow them to choose their bathrooms to avoid sexual harassment, to avoid getting beaten up, to avoid bullying? There's so much of this anti-bullying crap that they're totally ignoring in this case.
Oh, and the strength of some of these bills, South Dakota's would make it a felony for doctors to perform any operations or administer any hormone therapy on minors, but only if it's to change their gender.
Right. I was going to say, you can't just not medically treat minors. And there are minors who have to have severe bodily changes due to disease. Intersex is a thing, a very common one. Doctors always have to choose. There's tons of doctors,
That's starting to change, but usually by puberty, that's when the child can speak up and express opinions and be a part of the process, and some kind of treatment will often start around that point now, because they are shying away from the supposed corrective surgeries that they were doing on newborns.
Yeah.
But usually something's going to happen eventually, and that would be illegal under this. A felony.
Yeah.
Missouri's bill would cost doctors their medical licenses for administering gender reassignment treatment, and the parents would have to be reported to child welfare officials for child abuse.
Wow. These are just heartless. But I don't know. It's one thing after another. It gets so exhausting.
Utah's would ban surgery and hormone therapy for minors, but would allow puberty blockers, which would mean, okay, if you're trans and you don't want to go through puberty under your gender assigned at birth, then you have to wait until you're 18 to go through puberty?
Ugh. As if being 18 isn't hard enough. Yeah, that's your choice. Be prepubescent for high school.
And, that's not it. There's also, let me get down to the more minor ones. There is a Alliance Defending Freedom driven lawsuit in Connecticut in federal court claiming discrimination on behalf of Connecticut girls who had to compete in track and field against trans athletes.
Okay. How often? Well, how often did that actually come up? If you say one or two, then, forget about it. That's stupid. It's not like boys are purposely choosing to present themselves as women so that they can get a gold medal. And that's what they're claiming is happening.
Yep.
That this is all subversive, malicious intent. They're just trying to get college scholarships and take it away from the girls. It's freaking South Park all over again. And it's just, no, that's not how that's not how this is working. And if you actually get these people treatment when they need it, prepubescent, it wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Right. And even if, heck, we've talked to Callie a few times on the show. If you're going through the middle of hormone therapy and having to go through puberty all over again, you're not going to be performing well.
No.
That is not good for athletic performance anyway.
No, it really isn't.
The weight gain alone and helping encourage athletic participation can be a good way to help, cut down on some weight gain there.
Or suicidal tendencies.
And suicide. And yeah. Alabama, Georgia, Indiana, Missouri, New Hampshire, Tennessee, Washington, and now Idaho all have bills to bar, depending on well, they're basically all would remove any trans-inclusive athletic policies and require all athletic participation to be based on the gender assigned at birth.
At that point, you should get nothing for performing in sports. You shouldn't get college scholarships. You shouldn't get careers. Sports entertainment should just go down the drain because what the hell?
Yeah.
They're targeting so few people with this. It's just so mean.
Yeah.
Because they don't see them as human. They don't see them as people. That's the only way that these things can get passed and written is if you don't view them as people. And that's sick.
In more than a dozen states.
Yeah, somebody wrote it and just mass emailed a bunch of legislatures and said, here, write this.
Oh, they didn't even tell them to write it. They just send them the draft. Be like, have a staffer format it and submit it. Heck, I'm sure some of them are even already formatted with the representative's name on it.
Yeah. Well, if they did their job right, they would.
Donald J. Trump was acquitted on both charges in the impeachment trial.
It was...
At least Mitt Romney voted to convict on one. So there was one Republican. There are now calls to expel him from the Republican Party.
Yep. Because it's a cult of personality, not a political party now.
Yep.
And he called them on it, and he's going to have to suffer the consequences of it. And that just is like, wow, you're that party now. Great job, GOP.
The party that decided that it is perfectly fine for a president to manipulate a foreign government into interfering in U.S. elections for his own personal gain.
And then consistently covering it up and lying about it over and over.
Oh, covering it up and then bragging about the cover-up. At the point that you can brag publicly about the cover-up.
There's the abuse and corruption, and then there was the cover-up. How he didn't get pinned for the cover-up is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Because that is literally all that you listened to was the cover-up. Okay, whatever. If you don't believe that was an abuse of power, fine. But what he did to cover up the fact that he had done it is illegal and not something that a president should be doing.
Right.
But
Checks and balances are dead.
I want to say, if you're an atheist out there and you're Republican, I get it, but the party isn't what it used to be. Just like those of us who are Democrats, the Democratic Party isn't what it used to be, and we're going to have to work to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work to make it better. Vote these guys out. Ugh.
But the day before Trump's acquittal was the State of the Union address, making Trump the first ever president to give a State of the Union address while in the middle of an impeachment trial.
Oh, there's lots of firsts involved here.
Oh, yeah. He included a proposal to increase vouchers.
Okay, explain to me again what a voucher is.
Vouchers.
We're talking about education?
We are talking about, education. A way to allow federal tax money to go to support private religious schools. So the basic principle is if you decide not to enroll your child in public school, you can get a voucher to use to have funds redirected to the school of your choice. That theoretically is what would have been spent on your kid at public school.
Yeah. So it is directly taking money out of public school and putting it into these private, oftentimes religious, oftentimes unproven fad kind of educational systems. And it's just like, and you expect the public school system to survive this?
Yeah.
And it's a thing. You're supposed to provide public education. You can't just stop.
We're talking about $5 billion a year. The claim that Trump made is that it won't take any money from public schools because this is all going to get privately funded. Yep.
Yeah, like his wall.
Private donations are going to go into paying it. Except those private donations to fund the vouchers are going to be eligible for a dollar for dollar tax credit.
Yeah. Yep. And people will still believe whatever he says, whatever. I feel terrible. I have a child who is going to be school age here not too long, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do this. There's more and more people like us who are, let's say, want our child to succeed in education rather than, bypass it and just deregulate it, where public schools aren't going to be an option anymore because they're so poorly funded. And they're so under so much stress that it's hard for a kid to excel. They don't have that step up that public education is supposed to give children.
And that is all part of the conservative plan to scrap public education.
Then they just need to do it. I'm just so sick of this.
Except if they get what they want, then church schools is going to be all that's left.
Yeah.
They want a world where it's just church schools.
Church schools, STEM academies, and super weird hippie.
Oh, no, they don't want STEM academies.
No,
they just want
don't.
Church schools.
They don't, but...
Yeah.
I do believe that those would still exist.
School choice is the conservative term catchphrase they try to use for it, is a lie. It is defunding public education. One of the biggest issues with defunding public education is that public schools are required to provide educational services for all students, regardless of disability status and religion and gender identity and sexual orientation and all those other things that private schools are not. As you remove funding from public schools, the higher cost of special needs children versus your more typical children doesn't go down, which means the money available for the non-special needs children does go down.
Yeah, it's bad.
We need to fight back.
How?
Get involved politically. Help Democrats win.
I guess. That's
Republicans are trying to dismantle the United States, and the Russians are helping them do it. And we have to fight back. Rolling over and giving up is not an option. For a happy story, sort of, a 8-year-old boy in Vancouver, Washington likes making keychains because he likes hanging them from his backpack.
Cool. I used to be that kid.
So he had the idea, after hearing about school lunch debt issues, to raise money to help support school lunch debts. So he started making more and more keychains, and his parents and grandparents helped him out with some of the logistics and everything. And he got raised over $4,000.
Nice.
Like, some of these sales were... Oh, the particular one who prompted it was a Richard Sherman, 49ers cornerback, who used to play for the Seattle Seahawks, donated $27,000 to cover some student lunch debt. And Keone, the 8-year-old boy who raised the money, did actually state for the record that he is a Miami Dolphins fan.
Oh,
that was an important
heartbreaking.
So he ended up sending keychains as far away as Alaska, Rhode Island, Arizona.
Nice.
Like, all over. One lady wanted $100 worth, so she could just hand them out to people. He was selling them for $5 each.
Aw.
One person just paid $100 for one.
Nice.
And with the $4,000, he was able to pay off the school lunch debt for the students in his school and 6 others.
That is amazing.
$4,000 was enough to handle it for 7 schools.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a whole lot of... I don't know what you're frustrated about here.
The frustration is when it's that small of an amount, it's not that hard to put a little bit of flexibility in the budget to cover just that little bit more when it's that close.
Yeah, because 4,000 divided by, 8 then?
7.
7
yeah.
is... Yeah. And of course, that's unequal. There were some schools that I'm sure had far less problems. But hunger should not be an issue for kids in school.
Right.
Breakfast, lunches, summer programs, backpack programs, those should all be covered by the state. And they're not. So...
And there used to be...
Child labor has to make up for the...
There used to be good federal programs to cover all of this, and those have been getting gutted. All right, in feedback, we got pet pictures from Jean and Dustin.
I love you guys. I'm loving the pet pictures. I will forgive the cat. That's all right. Kitties are nice, especially ones that like belly rubs.
And we got 2 new patrons.
Oh, even better.
Samuel and Addie.
Nice.
We had feedback before from Addie, and we had a little bit more back and forth. He was curious about where to find the new podcast, which is at schismpod.com. And since, as Waiting for Wrath pointed out on Twitter, yes, that is hard to spell, so I have bought an additional domain for it. religiondivided.com is a easier place to find it.
Oh, wow. You just need an excuse to buy another domain.
No.
Dustin, you have a problem.
I don't.
Stop buying domains.
Schismpod is hard to spell if you don't know how to spell it.
Yeah. Yeah. It just brings up the public education thing again. God, learn how to spell. It's not that hard.
Yes, it is. But anyway, Samuel and Addie, thank you very much. And Addie, I hope you're doing well in Portugal.
Nice.
But that wraps it up for this week. And remember, not all those who wander are lost.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Nomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.